Dear students, today in this class let us learn first lesson from supplementary reading, 9th standard English. Name of the lesson is Aruna Asaf Ali, the Great Patriot. So the meaning of patriot is one who dies for great cause. One who dies for great cause. So that is the meaning of a patriot. So one who loves one's own nation, one who respects one's own nation is also considered as a patriot. In this lesson, we are going to learn about a great woman by name Aruna Asaf Ali, who sacrificed a lot for the sake of motherland, that is India. Now let us know about Aruna Asaf Ali. It is common knowledge that the British Empire spread all over the globe in the past. Our dear motherland was a part of it, reeling under the tyranny of the oppressors. She found solace in the efforts of the freedom fighters that willingly shed their last drop of blood to redeem her from the shackles of bondage. One such luminary was Aruna Asaf Ali, the famous freedom fighter and the champion of the cause of women. Known as the grand old lady of the independence movement, Aruna Asaf Ali was a fiery leader who plunged headlong into politics at a time when the freedom struggle was raging and the youth were laying down their lives for the country's independence. Born into an Orthodox Hindu Bengali family in 1909 at Kalka in Haryana, Aruna broke conventions at the age of 19 to marry Asaf Ali, a prominent figure in the freedom struggle and 20 years her senior. Her marriage brought her face to face with the freedom struggle and social service which she pursued throughout her life. Aruna Asaf Ali's first major political involvement was during the Salt Satyagraha when she addressed public meetings and led processions. She was prosecuted in Delhi and on her refusal to furnish security for good behavior was sentenced to 1 year imprisonment. A few months later, when most political prisoners were being released, she was not released until a public agitation was launched in her support. Let us know the meanings for some of the difficult words. Okay? Fair means having a great deal of energy. Raging means filled with anger. Filled with anger. Convention. Doing things the way most people consider to be right. Prosecuted official charged with a crime in court. So they are some of the meanings for difficult words. Now I am going to explain you the lesson. Known as the grand old lady of the independence movement, Aruna Asaf Ali was a fiery leader who plunged headlong into politics at a time when the freedom struggle was raging and the youth were laying down their lives for the country's independence. So Aruna Asaf Ali was known as Grand Old Lady of Independence Movement. Aruna Asaf Ali was a great leader, a great woman who came to be known as Grand Old Lady of the Independence Movement in India. She was fiery leader who plunged headlong into politics. She jumped into politics. She joined the politics when youths of our country, India, they were laying their lives for the sake of independence. When all the youths of India, when they joined freedom struggle, at that time, Aruna Asaf Ali also joined freedom struggle, and she laid down her life for the sake of a country. Born into an Orthodox Hindu Bengali family in 1909 at Kalka in Haryana, Aruna broke conventions at the age of 19 to marry Asaf Ali, a prominent figure in the freedom struggle and 20 years her senior. Her marriage brought her face to face with the freedom struggle and social service which she pursued throughout her life. So Aruna Asaf Ali was born in 1909 in an Orthodox Hindu Bengali family at a place called Kalka in Haryana. She broke the convention at the age of 19 to marry Asaf Ali. Aruna belongs to Hindu family, whereas Asaf Ali belongs to Islamic family. So, at the age of 19, Aruna married Asaf Ali, who belongs to Islamic community at the age of 19. So in this way she broke the convention and married Asaf Ali, and he was 20 years elder than Aruna. And Asaf Ali was also a prominent freedom fighter who joined in a freedom struggle. And after joining this freedom struggle, Aruna Asaf Ali also gave importance to social service throughout her life. Aruna Asaf Ali's first major political involvement was during the Salt Satyagraha, when she addressed public meetings and led processions. She was prosecuted in Delhi and on her refusal to furnish security for good behavior was sentenced to 1 year imprisonment. A few months later, when most political parties prisoners were being released, she was not released until a public agitation was launched in her support. So Aruna Ali's first major political involvement was during the time of Salt Satyagraha, which was started by Gandhiji. At the time of Salt Satyagraha, she addressed public meetings and led the processions. So afterwards, what happened? Delhi court prosecuted her and imprisoned her for so many months. After 1 year, many prisoners were released. She was sentenced to jail for 1 year. Later on, the political prisoners were released, but Aruna Asaf Ali was not released. Later on, what happened? A political agitation was started against this. After that political agitation only, Aruna Asaf Ali was released. In 1932, she was again arrested and put in Delhi jail, where she went on a hunger strike to protest against the callous treatment of political prisoners. Her demands were conceded, but she was transferred to Ambala jail, where she was kept in solitary confinement. After her release, she stayed away from the movement for 10 years. Something significant happened in 1942. She attended the Bombay Congress session along with her husband, during which the Quit India resolution was passed on 8th August. The committee had planned the hoisting of the tricolor at Gawali Tank Maidan, but the British got wind of the plan and arrested the top leaders, including Gandhiji, a few hours before the event. What followed is best described in her own words. Now let us know the meanings. Chaos means very cruel. Concealed means to give in. Solitary confinement means a prisoner is kept alone in a separate cell. Got wind off. Got the clue of an idea. So they are some of the difficult words. In 1932, she was again arrested and put in the Delhi jail. So again, Aruna Asaf Ali was arrested in the year 1932 at Delhi jail, where she went on a hunger strike to protest the callous treatment of political prisoners. So, in that Delhi jail, the political prisoners were ill-treated, treated very cruelly. So, therefore, at Delhi, Aruna Asaf Ali went on a hunger strike. Her demands were conceded, but she was transferred to Ambala jail, where she was kept in solitary confinement. So, already I told you the meaning of concede, to give in. So, her demands were conceded, but what happened? She was transferred to Ambala jail from Delhi jail, and at Ambala jail she was kept in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement means to keep a prisoner alone in a separate cell. After her release, she stayed away from the movement for 10 years. So she was released from the jail. After her release, what happened? She was away from the freedom struggle, freedom movement for 10 years. Something significant had happened in 1942. She attended the Bombay Congress session along with her husband, during which the Quit India resolution was passed on 8th August. So in 1942, Gandhiji started Quit India movement. So during that time, what happened? Aruna Asaf Ali, along with her husband Asaf Ali, attended Bombay Congress session. Bombay Congress session. Okay, and in that session, Quit India resolution was passed on 8th August. On 8th August 1942, at Bombay Congress session was held. So, Aruna Asaf Ali and her husband Asaf Ali attended that Congress session. In that Congress session, a resolution was passed with regard to launch Quit India movement. The committee had planned the hoisting of the tricolor at Gawali Tank Maidan, but the British got wind of the plan and arrested the top leaders, including Gandhiji, a few hours before the event. So what happened? The committee which met at the session decided to hoist a tricolor flag of India at a place called Gawali Tank Maidan. But the British came to know about this plan of the Congress session, the committee, and therefore the British arrested almost all the top leaders of Congress party, including Gandhiji, before the event occurred. The event was about to occur at 8 o'clock at Gawali Tank Maidan, but before the British arrested almost all top leaders, so including Gandhiji also. Now let us listen what is being told by Aruna Asaf Ali. So she says like this: my husband and I were not in the least surprised when in the early hours of August 9th, the police knocked on the door at the flat where we were staying. When they announced Asaf Sahib's arrest, I asked her, what about me? There is no warrant for you, ma'am, I was told. I persuaded the British sergeant who had come in a taxi with a couple of policemen to let me accompany them to the railway station to see off my husband. Dawn was about to break and there was a cordon around Victoria Terminus to keep crowds at bay. As I walked along the platform, I saw Maulana Azad sitting at a window in a compartment of the special train and stopped to talk him. As Congress President, he was to unfurl the tricolor at a public gathering at Gawali Tank Maidan at 8 a.m. I made up my mind on as an impulse I am going there. This decision to stand in front Maulana Azad was the beginning of a chapter of heroism and unrest in the life of Aruna Asaf Ali. Her narrating proceeds. Now let us know the meanings for difficult words. Got wind of, got the clue of an idea. Warrant an official order to arrest a person. Cordon, barricade, stand in for, to act on behalf of someone, impulse, a sudden, inexplicable urge, to do something. Okay. So now let us see what she says. My husband and I were not in the least surprised when, in the early hours of August 9th, the police knocked on the door of the flat where we were staying. So, Aruna Asaf Ali and her husband Asaf Ali attended Bombay Congress session which was held on 8th August. And there a resolution was passed by the committee to start Fit India movement on 9th August by hoisting a tricolor flag at 8 a.m. So what she says, there was no surprise that we won't be arrested by the police. Because almost all top political leaders, political freedom fighters were arrested. So she was sure that they would be arrested by the police. So therefore, what happened? On 9th August early morning, she heard knock on the door of the flat. So when she opened the door and saw there were police who had come there to arrest Asaf Ali. So the police told that they had come there to arrest Asaf Ali. And Aruna Asaf Ali asked her, what about me? Are you not going to arrest me? So therefore, the policeman said that there is no warrant for you, ma'am. I was told. Aruna Asaf Ali was told that there was no warrant to arrest her. So it was told by the police. I persuaded the British sergeant who had come in a taxi with a couple of policemen to let me accompany them to the railway station to see of my husband. So the police sergeant told Aruna Asaf Ali that they had come in taxi with a few policemen and she has to accompany them up to a railway station to see her husband off. Dawn was breaking, and at Victoria Terminus, barricade was put. Barricade was put around Victoria Terminus. Why that barricade was put around the Victoria Terminus? In order to keep the crowd away. So, Aruna Asaf Ali walked along with her husband Asaf Ali with the policeman into the railway station. While she was walking on the platform, she saw another great leader by name Maulana Azad, who was sitting in a compartment by the side of a window of a special train. So a special train was arranged in order to take all the political leaders to jail from Bombay railway station, Victoria Terminus. And the police have arrested, Asaf Ali, and they were taking Asaf Ali to the jail, and they took him to the railway station. And Aruna Asaf Ali was along with her husband. While she was walking on the platform, she saw Maulana Azad was sitting in the compartment of the special train by the side of the window. As Congress President, he was to unfurl the tricolour at public gathering at Kawali Tank Maidan at 8 a.m. So now it was decided to hoist tricolor flag at Gawali Tank Maidan on 9th August 8 a.m. It was supposed to be hoisted by Maulana Azad, who was the President of Congress, Indian Congress. But now Maulana Azad was also arrested. I made up my mind on an impulse. I am going there. So when she saw that even Maulana Azad was arrested, who was supposed to hoist tricolor flag at Gawali Tank Maidan, Aruna Asaf Ali made up her mind to reach Gawali Tank Maidan and to hoist tricolor flag there. The decision to stand in for Maulana Azad was the beginning of a chapter of heroism and unrest in the life of Aruna Asaf Ali. So from then onwards, she decided to go to Gawali Tank Maidan and to hoist tricolor flag. So from then onwards, she became an active participant in the freedom struggle. Bhulabhai Desai's son Dhirubhai had come to the railway station and he drove me in his car to the Maidan. The meeting was declared illegal under section 144. A white-skinned sergeant gave 2 minutes for the crowd to disperse. I quickly scrambled up to the dais, announced to the people the arrest of the leaders, and pulled the cord to hoist the national flag. Hardly had the flag been unfurled when the police lobbed tear gas shells into the crowd. The men and women ran helter-skelter with tears streaming down their cheeks. The experience of that morning made me decide that I would not again tamely enter jail by offering satyagraha. So, another person by name Dhirubhai had come to railway station. So, that Dhirubhai took Aruna Asaf Ali to the Gawali Tank Maidan. So, the meeting is what arranged by the Congress was considered as an illegal meeting under 144 section by the British. After this, a white-skinned sergeant gave 2 minutes of time for the crowd to disperse. One officer, okay, he gave 2 minutes time for the crowd to disperse. People had gathered there at Gawali Tank Maidan to see how the leaders are going to hoist the tricolor flag. Now, all the leaders were arrested. Aruna Asaf Ali came there. By that time, what happened? The white-skinned sergeant gave 2 minutes time to all the people to go away from that Gawali Tank Maidan. But before that only, Aruna Asaf Ali scrambled to the dais, reached the dais, and told the people that all the leaders were arrested by the British, and she pulled the cord to hoist the national flag. By then what happened? Police lobbed tear gas shells into the crowd. The police released tear gas shells into the air, onto the crowd. So thereby, men and women ran helter-skelter with tears streaming down their cheeks. So when the gas was released, which was very powerful, tears came out from the eyes of the people who had gathered there, and people started to run away from that place. So the experience of that morning made me decide that I would not again tamely enter jail by offering satyagraha. So from then onwards, she has decided that she should never go to jail. Aruna's act of defiance on August 9th virtually marked the start of Quit India movement. She now became a full-time activist in the movement, eventually going underground to avoid being arrested. She became the editor of Inqilab, the monthly magazine for the Congress, along with Ram Manohar Lohia. In the 1944 issue of the magazine, she advised the freedom fighters not to allow any academic arguments on questions like violence and non-violence to divert attention from the stern realities of the day. I want every student and youth to think and feel as soldiers of the nation that is to come. Aruna's act of defiance on 9th August virtually marked the start of Quit India movement. So Aruna Asaf Ali went there, Gawali Tank Maidan, hoisted tricolor flag. So it was the mark of starting the Quit India movement. So from then onwards, Aruna Asaf Ali became full-time activist in the movement. Eventually going underground to avoid being arrested. She wanted to hide herself so that the British should not arrest her. And later on, she became the editor of Inqilab, the monthly magazine for the Congress, along with Ram Manohar Lohia. So after becoming a full-time activist, Aruna Asaf Ali started a newspaper for the Congress, which is known as Inqilab. It was a monthly magazine. She started this paper along with Ram Manohar Lohia, another important leader. In the 1944 issue of the magazine, she advised freedom fighters not to allow any academic arguments on questions like violence and non-violence to divert attention from the stern realities of the day. So in the year 1944, she published that magazine, Inkilab, and in that magazine, she advised freedom fighters not to put questions or not to allow any academic arguments on questions like violence and non-violence. Okay, I want every student and you to think and feel as soldiers of the nation that is to come. So she addresses that she wants that every student and youth think and feel as soldiers of the nation, and she asked them to fight for freedoms or independence. In the meantime, the government announced a reward of rupees 5,000 for her capture. She became ill, and on hearing this, Gandhiji advised her to surrender. I have sent you a message that you must not die underground. You are reduced to a skeleton. Do come out and surrender yourself and take the prize offered for your arrest. Reserve the prize money for the great Indian cause. So in the meantime, what happened? The British government announced a reward of rupees 5,000 for her capture. On the other hand, she became very ill, and on hearing this announcement made by government, as well as he saw that Aruna Asaf Ali was very ill, Gandhiji advised Aruna Asaf Ali to surrender. I have sent you a message that you must not die underground. So Gandhiji told Aruna Asaf Ali by sending a message that she should not die underground, because her health was very upset. Okay, and therefore Gandhiji asked her to surrender to the government and take the prize money, and she can use the prize money for the great Indian cause. So Gandhiji wanted Aruna Asaf Ali to surrender and to take the prize money that was announced by the government, okay, for the capture of Aruna Asaf Ali. However, Aruna surrendered only when the warrants for her arrest were cancelled on 26th January 1946. Aruna Asaf Ali was surrendered to the British government only when the warrants for her arrest in the year 1946 on January 26 were cancelled. After India attained independence, Aruna Asaf Ali turned to social work and helped to establish the National Federation of Indian Women in 1954. So we got independence in the year 1947. So after getting independence, okay, we became free from the British rule and adopted constitution for our country, for our government in the year 1950. In the year 1954, what happened? Aruna Asaf Ali has started, okay, a new federation known as National Federation of Indian Women, National Federation of Indian women. And by starting this federation, she started to work as a social worker, and she rendered her service for social work. In 1992, she was awarded the Nehru Award for International Understanding. The Government of India in the year 1992 has awarded Nehru International Award, Nehru International Award for her. She breathed her last in July 1996. The country honored her with its highest civilian award, the Bharat Ratna, posthumously. So, for observing all her service, all her struggles, the Government of India, awarded Bharat Ratna to Aruna Asaf Ali after her death in 1996 in the month of July. So, in this way, Aruna Asaf Ali became a great freedom fighter. So, children, this is all about the story Aruna Asaf Ali. So, a woman became a great patriot, great freedom fighter of our nation. She underwent so many struggles during the freedom movement, went to jail for so many times. Even though she did not lose her confidence, willpower, she decided to serve the nation. So therefore, throughout her life, she served her nation, Mother India, and not only that, after getting independence, she turned as a social worker. See, children, we had to fight against the British for a long time to get independence. So therefore, we should develop respect towards our mother country, India. We should have love and affection towards our nation. Then only we will become a real Indians. If we don't have respect towards our country, then it is best to be the citizens of India. So, this is all about the story of a grand old lady of the independence movement, Aruna Asaf Ali. Thank you, children. Thanks a lot.